Here's everything that happened while we were on the clock. The Supreme Court to rule on whether creating a second black majority district in Louisiana violates the 14th Amendment. This will potentially impact 2026 midterms. Fired federal workers begin weekly protests on Capitol Hill. Trump says that the Department of Education shouldn't handle student loans. Southwest Airlines to start charging for checked bags, marking another first for the low-cost airline. Dow falls as Trump announces new tariffs. Metal tariffs on Canada doubled to 50%. San Jose mayor proposes criminalizing homeless people who refuse shelter. Trump questions U.S. reliance on Canadian electricity supply, forgetting that he negotiated USMCA allow it. Philadelphia Eagles accept Trump's invitation to the White House after their Super Bowl victory. Oklahoma Supreme Court blocks Superintendent Walters' plan to buy Bibles for classroom. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office lieutenant allegedly fired shots at a 70-year-old truck driver during a possible road rage incident. The truck driver was detained after the officer fired the shots. IOF kills 4 Palestinians, including a 60-year-old woman in the West Bank. Proposed VA budget cuts spark outrage among veterans. Petition for Donald Trump's impeachment surpasses 250,000 signatures. USDA cancels $600,000 research program because it mentioned trans men once. Ukraine agrees to an immediate 30-day ceasefire brokered by U.S. pending Russian approval, officials say, and that's everything that happened while we were on the clock.
Elon has taken L after L, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. Tesla stock is in free fall, shedding billions in value as investors grow tired of missed targets, price cuts, and increasing competition from actual car companies that know how to run a business. Meanwhile, Elon's DOGE is laying off millions of federal workers while DOGE itself is doubling its workforce. So let me get this straight. Elon wants to streamline the government, but somehow that means firing experienced public servants while inflating his own little pet project, which is DOGE. If Tesla's performance and the downfall of Twitter are any indication, efficiency in Elon's world is just reckless mismanagement. Elon's Tesla is performing so poorly that Trump has vowed to pity buy a vehicle to stick it to the so-called radical left, who Trump claims is illegally boycotting Tesla. Tesla's ongoing struggles include declining vehicle deliveries, an aging lineup with no real innovation, and a cratering reputation in the EV market. Even diehard Elon fans are starting to admit that competitors are leaving Tesla in the dust. Musk's track record speaks for itself. He overpromises, underdelivers, and when things go south, he blames regulations, the media, or the woke mind virus. If he can't keep his own companies afloat, how exactly is he supposed to make the government more efficient? Also, DOGE's hiring spree makes me truly wonder, if Musk really wants to shrink government waste, why is he bloating his own bureaucracy? At this rate, the only thing Elon seems good at is streamlining his own downfall.
The federal government is taking food out of our children's mouths, all in the name of cost cutting. In a stunning decision, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has slashed over $1 billion in funding that helps schools and food banks buy fresh food from local farms. The move pulls food off kids' plates and leaves struggling families with fewer resources at a time when food costs are through the roof. The cuts eliminate the Local Food for Schools Cooperative Agreement Program, which was set to provide $660 million in 2025 to help schools and child care centers buy locally grown food. More than 40 states had relied on this funding, but USDA officials announced on Friday that it's being wiped out. The USDA is also shutting down the Local Food Purchase Assistance Cooperative Agreement Program, which supported food banks and feeding organizations. While states with existing agreements will still receive funds, there will be no new funding in 2025. A USDA spokesperson confirmed that the programs originally launched under the Trump administration no longer effectuate the goals of the agency. The decision has outraged school nutrition officials and state leaders. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey blasted the cut, saying her state will lose $12 million meant for school meal programs. With food costs climbing and more families turning to food banks for survival, the loss of these programs will have devastating consequences for children, farmers, and communities across the country. Texas lawmakers have introduced a bill that threatens to make being transgender a crime punishable with jail time and steep fines. This measure could make it a felony for individuals to identify as a gender different from the one they were assigned at birth. This proposed legislation, which targets what these reactionaries call gender identity fraud, would make it illegal for transgender individuals to accurately represent their gender on official documents such as driver's licenses and employment records. If passed, the bill could lead to up to 2 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000 for those convicted. The bill, filed by Republican State Rep. Tom Oliverson, is part of a broader wave of Republican-backed legislation aimed at restricting transgender rights across the country. Texas is at the forefront of this push, with nearly 170 bills targeting LGBTQ people introduced this year alone. These bills want to limit access to gender-affirming health care, prevent transgender people from using public bathrooms, and bar transgender people from participating in sports. While the Texas bill currently lacks co-sponsors, making it unlikely to pass, this is increasing, y'all. It is increasing extremism and legislation that is targeting transgender people, particularly in Texas. In 2023, the state passed a law restricting transition-related related care to minors and move to bar trans athletes from participating in sports. Further efforts are underway. And honestly, on a national level, we have seen 700 bills introduced in 49 states just in 2025 alone. Some already enacted and some under consideration. We must stand together to fight to protect our trans siblings. A Jacksonville Sheriff's Office lieutenant allegedly fired 4 shots at a 70-year-old truck driver on I-95 South Monday afternoon, yet it was the unarmed trucker, not the officer, who was detained for questioning. Meanwhile, the officer remains uncharged despite his actions, according to First Coast News. The incident occurred around 4 p.m. when Lieutenant Mark Crawford, a 21-year veteran of JSO, was driving home in an unmarked car. According to JSO Chief Alan Parker, Crawford and the truck driver, a man from North Carolina, made contact multiple times while driving near Atlantic Boulevard. Made contact is an interesting way to describe what sounds like a road rage incident. At some point, Lieutenant Crawford exited his vehicle and opened fire on the truck, hitting the engine block but missing the driver. Despite firing no shots and being unarmed, the truck driver was detained by police. JSO confirmed he is cooperating with investigators and is not currently facing any charges. Lieutenant Crawford, however, has not been arrested or charged despite this being his 4th officer-involved shooting. He was taken to the hospital with a shoulder injury. JSO has yet to explain why Crawford felt the need to shoot an elderly driver or why the truck driver was detained while the officer remains free. Investigators are still reviewing the circumstances, but I-95 South was shut down for hours as police examined the scene. The TikTok ban is set to expire in less than a month. Here's where things stand. Back in January, a law went into effect requiring TikTok's China-based parent company ByteDance to sell the app or face a nationwide ban. However, Trump delayed enforcement with an executive order pushing the deadline to April 5th. If TikTok isn't sold by then, the original ban could be reinstated unless another extension is granted. Trump has already signaled that he would probably extend the deadline if a deal isn't reached by then. According to PBS, while it's unclear if ByteDance is willing to sell, several groups have expressed interest in buying TikTok's U.S. operations. Perplexity AI proposed a merger with TikTok's U.S. business, a billionaire-led group organized by Frank McCourt, including Reddit co-founder Alexis Ohanian, offered $20 billion to buy and redesign TikTok using blockchain technology. A separate group led by Jesse Tinsley, which includes Roblox CEO, is offering more than $30 billion. Microsoft and then the former Treasury Secretary and Rumble, a video site favored by conservatives, has also shown interest. So Trump has suggested that the U.S. government should broker a deal that gives it 50% control of TikTok. Some bidders have even proposed allowing the U.S. to invest in the platform. Trump also floated the idea of a government-owned investment fund to hold stake in the company. However, details on how this would work remain unclear. Unlike last year when China strongly opposed the sale, its officials now seem more open to discussions. The Chinese Foreign Ministry recently stated that business deals should be made according to market principles, but emphasized that any agreement must comply with China's laws. For now, TikTok doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon, so make that content and touch that grass.